Woo! Okay, what I'm going to talk to you now is radial brush. Oh, that might be the wrong way around, but I am going to show you the unboxing and the detail, right? All the detail about radial, because we're very proud of this, and we've got, anyway, we've got them rolling out like everywhere. So production is getting good. Zach Bristow's here, Martin Burns here. Good to see you. Okay, let's open one of these little babies up and see what's inside. Boo to you too. All right, so all radials come packaged like this. Now this packaging is a little bit big because hey Vito, good to see you, buddy. But we've got these being made for the radial, the proper size, right? So, but anyway, they still work and they protect. You see we put a guard in there. Like this is all about the detail, right? So this is a piece of cardboard and it just protects the bristles so they don't get sort of all beaten up in the process, yeah? Okay? So, all right. So the idea of this PET box is that it is reusable. So once you've got this brush on, we'll get you the right size box, but once you've got this brush on your pole, right, you can actually reuse this. You don't need the cardboard after that, but you can actually reuse this box. So rather than it being plastic that you just throw in the bin, Jamie Schmidt's here, good to see you, buddy. It's not plastic you throw in the bin, you actually get to reuse it. Randy Cox is here. Hey, good to see you. We'll see you on the window cleaner app, yeah? Oh, low network connection, how dare they do that, right? All right, so this is how it works. The radial is, basically we've radialized the bristles around the edge so that they go into the corners, right? So if I do this for you, man, maybe I can do it this way on the table, right? Let me see, there. And then so when we press the brush down, right, that's what gets into the corners, loads of bristles in the corners, yeah? So we can dig at the corners better than any other brush. Who said you can't put a round end cap in a square corner? There's somebody running around, the whole of America running around with that line. That's completely incorrect. You can't put a square into a square corner, right? You have a square corner and you've got over the top water. As soon as you put a square in a square corner, you're going to wet above and then you're going to introduce dirt into your rinse water. So you can't have a square brush and Hydroblade 2 or rinse jets or whatever you want to call them, rinse bars, right? So you only with a round brush can you get into the corner, get those bristles to come up here and go into the corner. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was a short dropout, I think. I think I'm live again now. I've got a bunch of people watching. Okay, so I'm going to show you the Hydroblade 2 Plus. So Hydroblade 2 Plus is now made out of a completely robust nylon material. Yeah, so you can see that. And you know this water splays the water where you want it. So these outer jets here put the water out like this. So the water comes in and then we turn it inside and we point it out to the side. So the water is basically, you know, like this, which is, oh, actually like this. And with, hey Jason, you're meant to be going on holidays. Mario's here, hey. So the logic of this is that we put the water where we want it so that you can have less agitation, less rinse. So what we want to do is agitate on the upstroke, rinse on the downstroke. Yeah. So if we can put the water out to the edges, then when you come down the frame on this side, what you're looking to do is angle the brush slightly. Don't bring it down straight because the water's here and it's got nowhere to go. So you slightly angle it and then you know the water's going to go here. And Bruce Stewart's here. Good to see you, buddy. So, and then as you come down the frame, the water is going to run off that side and rinse down the edge, because that's another problem with water fed is, you know, trying to rinse the outside edges, because quite often they're siliconized, right? Or there's some creep of some rubber material or silicone material or some thermoplastic rubber or elastomer or whatever it is. But anyway, it creeps across and it makes it hydrophobic. So my logic is that we, you know, when you angle the brush like this and we make all the water, because the water doesn't go through a reach it brush, right? The water won't go through a radial, right? It always just sits here. So we've got the Hydroblade 2 Plus is there. Now, one of the problems we have with guys who are getting debris in their hose line, and the debris, you know, it might come in here, go around here and come to here, and then or it might go here and come around to here, but basically the center jets of a rinse bar would block. Now if somebody's feeding from the front, then you'll probably find that the outside ones are blocking. So something like a Tucker rinse bar or something like that, if feeding from the center, then it's usually be the outside ones. So how do we deal with that and make sure that that doesn't happen? Radial comes in 12-inch and 16-inch. And this is this dimension here. Yeah, so the splay, right, is another 1.5 inches. So a 12-inch is a 15-inch on the glass, and a 16-inch is 19 inches on the glass. Okay, so here's the solution, Zach. Right now, we have mesh filters in your hydro in your connectors now. But if you've got old connectors, right, you'll see that little bulge there. That's a filter. That's a mesh filter. So any debris that comes to the brush will get caught here. And then we're just making a video now, like how to take this off and how to, basically you'll just use a push fit, like an 8mm rhino tube push fit, and you'll just blast it in reverse and you'll be able to blast the dirt out. So this way you'll never get any dirt caught up in your hydro blades. Because these hydro blades, the old hydro blades, the colored ones, the holes were straight, because they're made with a mold. So the pins go in and the pins come out. So you can put a pin in and put a pin out. But inside here is so complex, right? It's not a straight line because we're basically, we've got the water coming up here, coming around here, coming here, and then squirting across like this. So we're bending the water inside the hydro blade, yeah? But it's in the detail. That's what, I'm finished on this brush now. I'm never gonna make another brush. On the standard market, I'm gonna make a solar brush, I'm gonna make a roof cleaning brush, we've got another thing to do with window weapon to make that. But from a window cleaning brush, patent pending since 2015. There's nowhere to go. These bolts here, we're just sourcing some glue, some Sikaflex glue. We're getting some advice from Sikaflex, but this will be glued. But at the moment, it's got security bolts. You can't change it. It's not made up of parts that you can play with, right? Right now, if you've got a security screwdriver, you can probably do it, but we don't want you to. And it comes with Reach It Care. Now, Reach It Care is my statement of confidence, is that for $29.90 for 2 years, just like Apple Care, for 2 years, if you wanted to send this back to us, like you pay the shipping back, we'll pay the shipping back to you and we'll replace the brush. If it fails you according to the definitions. And the only definition I've said is scratches don't count, block jets don't count, and soiled bristles don't count. But if the brush itself breaks down in any way, then we'll just replace it for free if you take Reach It Care. Right? Other than that, it's just a standard warranty. Okay. Now, good. Oh, so somebody was asking me online today what is happening in here. So in here, these are short 0.3mm bristles. You can probably hear them. Right? Now they serve two functions. Right? The first function is to control how much the brush compresses. Right? So, the difference in the height between this and this means that brush will only go out that far because we want all the bristles to be cut and on the glass at the right angle. Now, by the way, you have a look at that cut. See how it's all jagged, right? And you look at the inside one. If I show you that inside one by peeling those down, you see that's a normal cut and this is a jagged cut. And that's to make sure that all these bristles end up on the glass, that they're not sitting on top of each other. Otherwise, you get all the bristles like this and they hit the glass like this. And these ones, if you look at a lot of brushes, half the bristles are on top of other bristles, right? So the design here is we've got two different styles of bristles to cut away at any dirt and grime. And then the third one is these center bristles, right? And they stop the brush from collapsing too much. And they also are really good on seagull poo and stuff like that, yeah. So you can see the triple trim there, yeah, happening. And then that way you can see how the brush is designed to work. Because basically bristles, there's only three ways to agitate without using chemicals, right? There's scratching, scraping, and grabbing. So bristles are basically scratches. So you can scratch at 90 degrees to the surface, if I make that the surface there, or you can scratch at 30 to 45 degrees, which is the same as when we've got a razor blade, right? If we're going to razor blade the glass, we don't razor blade the glass like this. We turn it at a certain angle, and that's its optimal angle. So when we look at the design of Radial, we're looking to set that at the maximum thing. We're looking to set the angle of those bristles. There's two different angle bristles on the inside, right? and which we're setting those angles at between 30 and 45 degrees on the glass so that it's got the maximum scratch, right? So these ones are scratching like that, those ones are scratching like that, these ones are scratching like that. And then if you want to go to scrape, then you'll go to window weapon. And if you want to go to grab, then you'll go to window weapon with the green rubber, magic eraser, microfiber, and maybe no, white non-scratch pad is actually a scraper, right? Anyway, you know what I mean. Oh, we've got silicon coming too. Silicon's a grabber. I think I've got a silicon one here. I've got coconut. That looks pretty cool. Ah, yes, I was going to talk about these. So these are coming. Like right now, we're just busy. Our whole department is making attack mod packs because we sold too many of them. So we've slowed down the production of these, but I've got the samples. So this is coming for window weapons, is silicon. Yep. Silicon, well, basically it works as a grabber and it's amazing. Like we've had it out in the field for, I don't know, 8 months with a bunch of guys. Maybe there's probably 12, 14 guys have got these, right? And the feedback on it's very, 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 very good. All right, so there you go. Now, what we didn't do is talk about pivot, right? You have a look at pivot. Now, pivot is centrally mounted compared to side to side. Side to side was mounted off center. So pivot is in the center, right, from top to bottom. And you'll see that there's, if those of you who have had side to side, you'll know that side to side had a mount that was at 90 degrees, and this is at 75 degrees, right? So it's actually angled down. And what that means is that the brush will actually work in its pivoting function at a tighter angle to the building, because there's a lot of guys who can't get a long way away from the building to set the pivot up. So by lowering this, we can get closer to the building. And some of you, if you're actually kind of mad geeky scientists, you'll realize that as you twist it, sometimes one side of the brush would lift up or the other side of the brush would lift up, so that some of the bristles would come off the glass, and that's also stopped by changing the mounting point to center and then changing the mounting angle to 75 degrees. Okay, so I'm long-winded, right, but I just want to make sure that I cover all the details. The pivot, right, you have a look at this, it's so beautiful, yeah? And we've made it as beautiful as we can, and it's incredibly smooth, and a big appreciation to Eric Gillian in Dunedin, New Zealand, because he really just guided me until I could get my head around what I needed my engineer to be able to design, right? And so what's in here is an incredibly smooth action that will never wear down. Like, one of the things that I really hate is having to replace tools too soon, right? So our answer to that with Constructor Brush was you can replace the parts that are going to wear out. I think that was, I think that people have taken advantage of that advantage and turned the strength into a weakness. So that's not available. Constructor Brush is being phased out. Radial is in. You can't take it apart. You can't service it, right? It'll be glued together. And if something goes wrong with it, you send it back to me and I'll send you a new one. And that's the end of that story, right? So anyway, I've got sort of mixed feelings on that. But anyway, here we are with Radial is... Now, the next best thing about Radial is that if you can see in there that there's a pivot point. Where am I? Not very good light. So there's a pivot point in there with a bolt and a nut. Yeah. So there's actually the nut is in there. So we actually supply you. Look at this. Not many tool pieces in this because it's not there's no servicing. Oh, I've got to remember to do those. Okay, so we give you the tool because most of the guys who are our customers are in America, and you're Imperial, and we manufacture with metric. So this tool comes with the brush, right? And you can get this tool in here, and you can change the tension of how you want the brush to feel. Yeah, like it's that sensitive. The detail is perfect. It's like insane. It's like changing the light on your phone, like how light or dark you want it to be. You just change the tension. You know, by turning this bolt here, you can make it tighter or looser exactly the way you want to. So if you want the brush just to, set to an angle and then stay at that angle without flopping all over the place, you just tighten it up. If you prefer it loose, Byron Guest is here. See, Byron? You'd like this. Like, this comes with Radial. So you just pop it in there, and then you can actually change the tension of the pivot. Where am I? There. Oh, dear. Anyway, I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss any. Okay, so pivot coming to this point here. Now, this point here, because Probably the world's most popular water-fed pole is a Gardner, right? And guys replace their Gardners pretty frequently and love them. And we tend to prefer to not have a replaceable pole, so you love it longer. But in the meantime, it's still the most popular pole in the world. So what we've done is we've emulated the teeth pattern in here of the Gardner. So the people who have a Gardner and want to buy a radial brush, all you'll do is disassemble your Gardner at this point here. If you've got something like a, what's a cheaper one? In Australia, there's a pole or something like that. Anyway, there's one in Australia, some in the UK, anyway. But if you've got a cheaper pole that's just got a Euro thread tip, you know, that's basically stock Chinese pole. Then what you'd do is you'd go and buy the Gardner piece, because Gardner have a piece that fits here that fits onto a Euro alpha pole. That's it, right? So if you want to get if you want to fit to an alpha pole, for example, which whatever. But remember, you need a rigid pole. Like whatever you're doing, you need a rigid pole. Yeah, because you're using the pole as an axle. You're using it as a drive shaft as well. I've heard guys tell me that, oh, when the pole flexes, it helps and works for me. I can tell you scientifically, it's completely ergonomically incorrect. You need a rigid pole, full transfer with a drive shaft of the effort and the energy that you have to the brush, right, at the angle of the pole, whatever angle the pole is. And then when you turn it, like you're using your carpal tunnel, right, to do rotational torque, you want the brush to go like this. Yeah, but if you're trying to use a flexing axle, right, then you're going to corkscrew it, so you're going to overload your carpal tunnel. Yeah, you're going to put more effort in to achieve the same result. Yeah. Okay, so whichever way, you buy a Gardner fitting, which has got the Gardner teeth at this end, and you can screw it onto a Euro thread, or if you have a Gardner. Anyway, basically, if you haven't got to reach it, you need a Gardner, or you need a Gardner fitting to get between whatever you've got and radial brush. Now, remember that in our kit, right, you'll see these here, right? This is if you are actually a Rhino tube user. So Radial is set up for high flow, yeah? So we have a 10 millimeter in here, or 7 millimeter ID going in to a 5 millimeter ID here. So I'm going to explain that. I'm going to geek out for you. If you have a 7 millimeters in, you imagine if it was a square, the square would be 7 millimeters by 7 millimeters, so it would be 49 millimeters, or points of 49 units, right? When we have 5 on the inside of these, right, if they were squares, they would be 5 by 5, so they would be 25. The area would be 25. Hello, Peter Thomas. So you'd have 25 units square on this side, 25 units square on this side, and 49, or let's say 50 here. So we have an exact match of, and this is what we've been working for and why we're encouraging everybody to go to high flow and everything like that. Like, I don't want to bore everybody. This is my detail day. So I'm going to drill down on the details so it goes down in history as to how much thought we put into making you a window cleaning brush, and not just getting a broom and sticking jets in it, or sticking jets on it, or something like that. I just think everybody else is making so little effort, right, to give you exactly what it is. But in the end, look what we got and look what they make, you know. So this is 50 millimeters. So 50 square units in, 25 going to the left, 25 going to the right, perfectly balanced, and you need 2 liters a minute or more coming out of the jets for them to work perfectly. 2 to 2.5 liters a minute, which is 2 liters a minute is half gallon per minute. So half gallon a minute or over. So that's why we let you, because some of the Brits, right, and have got tank systems with pumps and pump controllers, and they can push 2 liters, and they're not working at heights. Like, quite often they're just working on condos and stuff. So, not condos, terrace houses. So like a standard British system can push 2 liters a minute out. So you can, if you are running with an 8 millimeter tube, then you can just join your 8 millimeter tube to Radial using this fitting here, which is included. Yeah. So if you're a Rhino tube user and you have pressure. Now, if you haven't got pressure, or you don't know you've got pressure, there's a video that we put up called Why You Should Get Rid of Your 5/16 inch tube, and you should watch that, right? Or private message me and I'll feed it onto you. Now, this is high flow. High flow is double the area. Flat hose is double high flow. High flow is double Rhino tube. Marcus Bayer's here. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah. So high flow is coming in here. Yep. And And then what you'll see is that we do with a reach it pole, let me see guys, have one handy. Not everybody has a reach it pole in their lounge room, but I do. Okay, so you can see here that all reach its have a push fit, and this is one of the things that we were trying to work out, like why guys were getting all sorts of different things going on. But in the end, you know, the guys that follow the reach it system don't have things that happen to the guys who don't have reach it all the way through their systems, right? But basically the logic is this: you've got a 14-inch piece of hose or tube which is coming across into a push fit on the number one clamp. Now that means that the brush can swivel as it wants, yeah? That's a side to side here, right? So you can see the difference. Ooh. Right, same function, different design. That's spinning on me. Anyway, so the logic then is that now when I want to carry the weight of the high flow, then I can either twist it around the pole or I can use what's called tube runner. Yeah, so this is tube runner. And the new clamps, the 2020 clamps have got tube runner for high flow, right? So if you have an old reach it pole, then you can, any pole from 2012 through to 2019, the 2020 clamps are compatible. And you get the high flow compatible. So the reason you see in the kit is these short tube lengths, right, is so that you can create that loop. Now, if you haven't got a reach it pole, I understand, right? You may have an Unger Inlight, which is a fantastic, like their high mod pole is the same basic functionality as ours. Like that's a great pole. Gardner, not their extreme, their ultimate, the same league. Like you can't, nobody can buy better carbon fiber than the best carbon fiber that we all buy. The only thing you can do, if you make a lighter pole, you use less carbon fiber. You can use less carbon fiber by making longer sections. So you see it's cheaper to make a pole with 6-foot sections than it is with 4-foot sections, because for the same lengths, you've got, you know, a smaller circumference, blah, 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 right? I'm in detail mode today. Right, so, but you want a rigid pole, and then with a reach it, you would have this going into the brush, and then you'd have a loop going through to the number one clamp, right? So that's why we include these in here. Now, if you don't have a reach it pole, then you know, I've seen guys, you know, letting this hang down, and then the poor old brush is trying to pivot and do all sorts of magical things, and it's all being weighted down by the tube because the guy hasn't got a reach it pole, and he doesn't understand this logic. But I mean, you can cable tie a push fit to the top of your pole, that's fine. You know what I mean? All right. Now, just in case you have a problem, it is possible that you could still, let's say, I don't know, we don't know whether it's possible to get grit or what, but we take the time to give you a little emergency pin that if something's wrong or there's a bit of plastic that floats around or something happened in our factory that's not there, right? We give you the little pin. This is like Apple, right? Like when you buy a phone and you got to push the SIM card out and you do it once for the life of the phone, but they still give you the tool to push it out. Well, that's what this is. Yeah, this is so that if you ever get a block jet or something's happening and you want to, like, you go, blah, right, there it is. That's the pin to unblock a jet. Right, all costs money, but I think it's worth it. Now, what are these? I hear you say, because they'll be in the kit, okay? These are base hydro blades. So why have we given you base hydro blades? Well, if you've got loads of water pressure, let's say you've got 3.5 liters a minute available, right? Which is 3/4 of a gallon. 3.5 is close to a gallon a minute, right? So let's say you've got more water available and you think, okay, well, I could benefit from having water above the brush, right, for the rinse, and I could have benefit from having water under the brush for pulling the dirty water off the glass. Now, we've experimented with this, and we had a lot of experience with, sorry, I was reading a message. We had a lot of experience with the feedback because we took the end cap jets out of these on the deep frames and we put them underneath, right? But some guys didn't have enough water pressure, so the water was coming out the bottom and there wasn't enough water for the top, so we said, look, just bypass the ones at the bottom. And then we thought, okay, how do we make that easy, right? How do we make that easy for you to be able to bypass the water at the bottom? By the way, you see this gap, we can't, you'll just see that gap there, but when the bristles splay, they remain a blade, okay? So just if you do get a gap like this, That's in the first generations. This is the 6th one that we made. So the very, very first ones, we're getting better and better at it. But it's not easy. It's all driven by, the size of that gap is driven by the actual radius. So if the radius is slightly bigger, when we bend it through, it's a manual machine that we have to bend them through. So as we bend the radius, if it's not exactly the same, then you'll get little gaps in it. But it doesn't change the functionality of the brush, okay? All right, so okay, this is what we do. If you have loads of water pressure, then you're going to undo this, and you're going to put a little tool in here like a screwdriver, and you're just going to push these out, and you're going to take the one with the real one, which is actually, because this is a blank, right? That's a blank. So you don't have to become a master DIY guy to add base water or to remove base water. You just, basically, this piece here is exactly identical to that piece there. That's a blank. This has got holes in it. So if you've got loads of water pressure and you've got a pump or booster or whatever, or you're running high flow or whatever reason, you've got loads of water pressure and you want water under your brush, then you make the decision to add these. I'm going to give you a brush that doesn't have that decision made, okay? So then you've got, what else can I tell you about? Oh, I'll just show you this. If this was on the pole, that might make a bit of difference. I'll just show you this. So if you haven't seen a reach it before, then if you were changing brushes out, you would undo this, you would open that, you would take this out, and you would take your new brush, lock it in. Now you'll just see on here, you see that notch there? That's anti-rotational, right? So there's no way under any conditions can this ever rotate that way, right? And then, so the lock is just stopping it coming out that way, yeah? So that piece gets caught between the jaws. Now, what I want to show you is the range of the brush right through the negative angle. Yeah, so if you were cleaning, let's say you're cleaning glass balustrades. Let me do that. Right, if you were cleaning glass balustrades from above, yeah, then you can get to that angle, or you can get to that angle. Yeah, so you could be going straight up and down. And then we're working on a way to turn the brush. The only other change we'll make is the ability to turn a brush 180 degrees here, right? So if you have to work on glass balustrades, you want to work from above, you want the water above, or if you're working on solar panels, one day you're on the ground cleaning the solar panel that way, the other day you're on the apex and you're cleaning the solar panel that way, then we're going to make it so that it flips 180 degrees. But that will be a fitting, it won't change any of the fittings that we've got now, so it'll just be a fitting under a fitting, so it'll be an adapter. Yep. Okay, so there you go. I think I've talked about everything. Don't forget Reach Care, right? So $29.90 if you want to have the same as Apple, you just want to be able to send the brush to us and we send you back another one in the next 2 years, right? If you like that idea, then you get Reach Care for $29.90 and you will have that. Now, these are... What are they? Anybody got a question? Or I think I've genuinely geeked out and covered everything, right? I think so. All right. So I'll just tell you for the last piece, right? The logic of a constructor brush or a reach it brush or a radial is that all glass behaves hydrophilic, not even if it's incredibly hydrophobic. And the reason is, so firstly, the misconception is, or with other brushes it's true, so it's not a misconception, is that they're rinsing the glass with the jets. Now, actually, that's not the case with a reach it brush, right? We're rinsing the glass with the water sitting on the bristles, right? Because what's happening is that because we have blades of bristles, you see there's no gaps in there, like you can't see through them. A broom style brush is basically 1/8 of an inch of bristles stapled into a hole, and there's 1/8 of an inch between the holes. Unger is less. I mean, there's so much maths in, if you actually look at all your different brushes and see how many millimeters or how many, 1/8 of an inch or whatever is the size of the pod, and then how far between the pods, and you can actually see how different companies have saved money over time. So you see them putting less pods of bristles in, and then the brush gets lighter, but it's lighter because it's got less material. Less material means it was cheaper to make. So you'll see the Gardeners, some of the X-Line stuff, right? Like really, really random spacing. Unger did it first. Very, very random. And you compare that to the old Tucker brushes where they're just so dense, you couldn't put bristles closer together if you tried. So that's what I followed. I followed the principle of getting the bristles as close together as you can, because I think that Tucker had it right, little Tommy Tucker. So we have blades of bristles. The water won't get through. If you just hold this against the glass and you squirt the jets, you'll see there's no water coming out under the brush. Now, when you go down the glass, right, and I'll do all this again on glass, but when you go down the glass, what's happening is that these bristle blades break the surface tension of the glass, and the jets they just squirt above and let the water sit on the bristle. Like, for example, as soon as that bristle is not on the glass, hydrophobic is hydrophobic again, right? So the water sits on the top of those bristles and inherits the broken surface tension and cascades down all glass, right? So the whole training about hydrophobic, hydrophilic is all dead as long as you use a reach it. It's irrelevant. Now, what you'll see is that the angle of these jets, right, that you're going to see them coming out at this angle here, pretty much following the bristles. And then your job is to set the angle of the brush so that the jets are just above. The jets are squirting just above. So you don't have to set the angle of the brush from here, by the way, but basically the angle that you're pressing, because you can change. You've got a lot of you've got a lot of scope in here in the bristles. You could be all on the back bristles, you could be all on the front bristles, and that'll change how much these bristles are splaying, which changes where these jets are arriving in relation to. But all they need to do is, even if they squirt on the bristle and the water ends up above the bristle, rides up the bristle, that was our original thinking, squirt on the bristle, ride it up, there's no turbulence, it's laminar flow, and then it just sits on top of the bristle, and then it inherits the broken surface tension from the bristles on the glass as a blade. Right? Hello, Julian Pierce. You're up late. Right? In the UK, have a look at this. Right? Sweet. Like really, really gorgeous. Magical. Yeah. It's a very, very, very nice end of the road for us. End of the design road for a window cleaning brush. Yep. So we're finished with poles. We're not going to do anything else with poles, I don't think. We're finished with, this is the last and final development for a nylon bristle brush. And then we're working on the weapon. And then we're going to roof brushes, solar brushes, maybe something else, maybe. Doug Rucker's here. Hey, Doug. Yep, these will be in the Doug Rucker store real soon. Okay, want to go live with Radial Pivot? Oh, yeah, Peter Thomas is out in the field. Let me see if I can find him. Brilliant. Let me look for him, invite. He is in the field? See what happens. That'd be hilarious. I don't want to invite friends to watch. Hang on. I want to invite him to join. Plus. No. Comments. Hey Pete, write to me. Oh, there you are. Maybe I can tap you and... No. I must have a setting wrong, Pete. Can't invite you. All right, let's do it tomorrow or the next day. All right, we'll get Peter Thomas. He's got one. Peter Thomas is so the history is, we invented constructor brush, and from the very beginning with a guy called Eric Gillian in Dunedin, Larry Crook in Connecticut, right? He placed the first bristle around, yeah. And then Peter Thomas made a mistake. He calls himself a dumbass. Actually, he made a mistake and he put them in the wrong place. So he actually put them in 6 and 2, and then he realized that he could send it around 7 and 1 as well. So we ended up with dual radials. So thank you, buddy. So there you go, right? The radial brush. I'm going to stop talking. I always talk too long, but I mean, anyway, the detail is here, so it's here for history. you'll be able to send it on to other people and explain to them. This is a genuine brush designed for window cleaning. There's no other brush actually designed for window cleaning. Every other brush is a broom, modified, edited over time, you know, but basically a broom either got holes drilled in it, which is just, then they take, I don't know if you've noticed, but they take loads of bristles out of it, right? So if you look at it like a reached brush, like when you've got those bristles going up and down on the glass, you've got bristles going up and down on the glass, right? But I always look at those when they've got great big holes out for the jets here and great big holes out for the jets there, and you go, dude, that's not, like, nobody's addressed the weaknesses over and over and over and over, years after years after years, and nobody addresses the weaknesses to say, give me a faster brush. Because does their brush clean glass? Does any brush clean glass? Does a broom clean glass? Yes, every brush cleans glass if you've got water afterwards with a pencil jet and the water's demineralized. Every pole can put a brush on the glass. The question, if you're trying to compare Reach It with another brand, is how fast, right? So we have the Reach It technique. You know, you basically take the brush up to the center, across to the corner. Peter Thomas will say jiggy, 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 because he knows this works now, like way better. So you go jiggy, jiggy in the corner, then down the frame to the bottom, right? Then you turn it back up to the center, across to the corner, jiggy, 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 down the frame to the corner, jiggy, 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 and then whatever you missed in the center, if it didn't, like this brush here following the left frame there and that following the right frame there, there's a complete overlap in the middle, so you don't need to go back to the center. Yeah. No, you don't. Oh, do you now? We used to be able to invite people. Anyway, that's how long it is since I've invited somebody. Anyway, so there you go. So if that overlaps, if it doesn't overlap, then you go up, down, in the middle, but you stay away from the top because you've cleaned the top with the reason we clean the top like this is to keep the water off above where you've agitated. That's the most important thing. You keep the water away from where you haven't agitated. You be very accurate across the top like you are with a squeegee, same level of attention to across the top, and then it doesn't matter what you do in the middle. Yeah, blah, 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 fan, straight pull, be fancy, do circles, whatever you want, doesn't matter. As long as you've looked after the top and the side edges, you're good. All right, so that's the Reach It technique. If you do that, you're agitating on the upstroke, you're rinsing on the downstroke, right? You've got maximum efficiency. The brush covers the glass in the least amount of movement because work is forced through distance. So we've got to either change the amount of force that you need or the amount of distance that you travel. So if somebody gives you less sparse bristles, you're going to scrub more times. So if you find yourself scrubbing glass 4 times, I can promise you'll be able to do it 2 times. If you're scrubbing your glass 2 times with another brush, I can promise you could do it with 1 time with a Reach It brush, right? It's all about the efficiency, but I can only suggest that to you, and then you have to go and prove it for yourself before it becomes true, because in the meantime, it's too uncomfortable for people to believe that I can make them clean windows 10 times faster than traditional, 4 times faster than anybody else's window cleaning system. But if you pick up a radial brush and you use it as if it's a tucker, you'll get the same speed as a tucker because it's your technique which is giving you your speed, not the brush, right? What a Reach It brush will do is give you greater efficiency, greater speed, greater... And so let me just put a caveat on that. Does it work on every piece of glass? No, we're talking about personal bests, understanding, and then what we're trying to do is say for 80% of the glass use this technique, and of course there's going to be a piece of glass where you need to scrub it this way or you need to switch out, like for example, does this clean every window? No, right? This is a scratcher. Scratchers don't clean non-water soluble, so you've got to switch out to a window weapon. Yeah. Oh, I should keep showing this for the guys who just turned up. So this is Radial. If you go back to the beginning anytime you can, it's about 40 minutes I suppose, but I actually go through item by item, you know, the detail that's working with it. This is rubberized end cap to protect the what's sitting underneath, which is pushing the water around, and we bend the water and the water comes out like fans sideways and all that sort of stuff. This is really, really magical and beautiful. All right, so sayonara. I didn't get a single question. Anyway, write to me in the comments below. Share this if you like it. It is, seriously, it's the only brush that from the beginning, and all of you know we've had a long journey starting with an idea that I had of making a brush that was interchangeable, and then now we're here like with a stunning like Dyson-esque brush that is 100% designed for window cleaning and nothing else, right? It doesn't look like anything else, it doesn't behave like anything else, and the only thing it's designed for is window cleaning and solar panel cleaning. Yeah, it'll work very well as a solar panel cleaner. All right, so that is Radial. and available with Reach It Care.